Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
How you doing, Stephen?
Yes, good. How you doing?
I'm not too. Actually, no, you know what? I've been better for the second time, back to back in a row. Fulham have fallen victim of a last-minute goal to Manchester opposition and genuinely heartbreaking end to what has otherwise been quite an incredible start to the season. Let's not get too hard on ourselves. It's been it's been really good up until this point. But yeah, can you just summarize to me how you felt after that Garnacho goal went in, the last kick of the game yesterday?
I was actually down on my hands and knees when it went in disbelief after that second half performance where we were in the ascendancy, looking for the win. I always said before the game I would 100% take a point because that would put us on 20, going into the international break. Completely heartbroken. And for it to happen twice in a space of a week is even worse, isn't it? And I felt like collectively we were all in a lot of pain there. You have to forgive my voice. I was doing a lot of singing yesterday and at a gig on Saturday. So, yeah.
I was about to say it sounds like you've been given full voice, but yeah, I mean, what can you do, eh? I thought the first goal that we conceded was a little bit sloppy, to be honest. I thought it wasn't in keeping with how we started the game. Thought we were intense. We really gave United a good running, and then unfortunately Tom Kenny just kind of just caught in possession. Really, that's
Yeah.
all we can say.
It's not something you can say about Tom Kearney very often. He is the safeguarder of the ball, isn't he? Like his pass success rate and drills is fantastic, and that's why he's in the team. And it was quite out of character. I did notice that he was, being swarmed on by the United players very early on, and there wasn't a lot of easy options for him to make. And he dealt with those scenarios really well, but he got caught in possession in the middle of the park, and it cost us heavily. And it's small things like that combined with the ref just being just giving all the small decisions against us, including two Paulinha textbook slide tackles, which didn't need to be free kicks at all. And those little things can change a game. And unfortunately, Tom has been caught out on this one, which is a shame because I think we're all really happy to see him in his first start. But then he did get the assist, so swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, let's talk about that assist. I mean, sumptuous. What a ball across to Dan James to set him up with a tap in for his first ever Fulham goal. It was a lovely little move. It was an interception, I believe, by Robinson down on that left hand side, who released Willian. And then, yeah, it just seemed like before you knew it, it was in the back of the net. A really solid counter attack.
It was amazing. I thought our goal was very similar to Man United's in the sense that, it's a ball whipped low and hard across the box. There's a very minute deflection from the defender, and then it's tapped into that far post. It was almost like for like goals, to be honest. But yeah, Tom's done really well to pick out Dan James. And, I think we're all really happy for James because he has a bit of a reputation for just having a lot of speed and no end product. So I think his positioning was really key yesterday. And, he's managed to show the fans what he can do. And it's just heartbreaking that we couldn't see it to the end of the game.
Yeah, solid goal against his own club. I want to ask you about individual performances because there are a few that sprung to mind for me for Fulham. One has to be our man in the middle from Portugal, Paulinha, who once again just showed the quality that he has, and he was immense yesterday. He really was.
Yeah, it was actually quite scary how good he was. Yeah, I made a little joke on Twitter being like, "Oh, did he just break a world record for the most amount of slide tackles?" But like, if you include the two where I don't know why the ref blew up, but he won the ball both times. That's what he does. It's got to be up there, and I wouldn't be surprised if he is still the player with the most successful kind of slide tackles in the Premier League. And I just couldn't believe what I was watching yesterday. He just seems to get better, which doesn't make any sense. So he could actually be a god in human form.
I was watching Match of the Day 2 last night, and Paulinha's got some incredible stats. I think most tackles of any position across any of the major leagues in Europe. And Jermaine Genius was singing his praises, rightly so. But he made the comment that Fulham fans won't thank me for saying this, but I think that he's a top talent, and I mean, if we can keep hold of him beyond next year, then I think we're doing really well. I think that the rest of world football is kind of cottoning on. It'd be really interesting to see how he does in the World Cup as well, whether he starts, because I mean, my God, he's been an exceptional player. We've had our first comment in. So this is from mobilityscooterhire.com. Thank you very much for getting in touch. Against Manchester clubs, you'd say Fulham will lose. But we could and should have drawn both games. I think that's very fair point. You got to take stock here. Although it is absolutely heartbreaking that we lose in such a fashion. We took arguably the greatest side in world football to the wire. Could only beat us via a Erling Haaland penalty in the last minute, and then Manchester United, obviously, of great Premier League pedigree. And yeah, I mean, the winning goal for United. The last, he looked really lively when he came on. He's one of those players that you just think, this guy looks like he's going to create something. He looks so up for it, and it seems like United do have a really, really strong talent on their hands by means of Garnacho. Would you not agree, Stephen?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of good young players coming through United. I think that project there is going to take a little bit of time, but yeah, it is looking very promising for United fans. Another not a big shock yesterday, but was the lack of Ronaldo. I feel like he's just faking his illness because he doesn't want to get injured for the World Cup. And yeah, it was funny to see Speed there yesterday, who I didn't know was a really big, famous celebrity. But my little brother was like, "Oh my God, Speed's here!" And then yeah, he was watching the live stream while we were there. It was so weird. But yeah, I think there's cause for optimism for United fans given the last few years they've had. And yeah, seems to be a good manager in place. But yeah, we should have snuck something yesterday.
I don't like talking about these kind of issues too much from Fulhamish because you get swamped with it in mainstream football media about but Ronaldo in the Sun today doing an interview with Piers Morgan on Talk TV. Like, what on earth are you doing, man? Like, you're not playing because of illness, and yet in the same day you've done this exclusive, essentially saying that he feels like he's being ousted out by Man United and all this kind of thing. And I'm like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah. I've lost all respect for him. I used to respect him more than Messi because he was able to do it in lots of different leagues, whereas Messi never breached out until he went to PSG, and it was a slow start. But for me, it's all just a game Ronaldo's playing so that he can leave in January. And he's prioritizing the World Cup. That's the way I see it, and I think he's in the wrong, to be honest. It's just really unprofessional, and it's a shame because a lot of people pay to come and see Ronaldo because he is an icon of football. My brother included. I got to see him twice when I was younger. Prime Man United. My brother's never seen him, so he was really excited, and it's just a bit rubbish, really. You don't need that attitude in football, and he can bugger off somewhere.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, we've got my rules in the comments saying apparently the Ronaldo interview was done last month. Fair enough. Thank you for pointing that out. But yeah, it's just a load of crap, to be honest, mate. And I agree in the argument of Messi Ronaldo. I think that's a big tick in Messi's box, in my opinion. We've got a question here from El Dorito. Do you think losing 2 games in a row like this will make us more cautious heading into the latter stages now? In my opinion, I think not. I think, if anything, it can give us confidence, the fact that we're taking 2 teams of this caliber to the wire. And, we've got a lot of players out in that match. We had Tete out, Mitro out. We're playing far from our fully fit squad. So, and going into the World Cup, I know a lot of our players will be featuring in that, but I think that this will give us really, really, good confidence going into that second half of the stages. So we just have a quick look at the table now. You can see that, 9th going into the break ahead of Brentford, tight level on points. We're 9 points away from the bottom. I mean, if someone offered you this position going into the World Cup, you'd have bitten their hand off, surely.
Unquestionably, it's been a huge success, and we set ourselves up going into these Manchester games where we were in a position we could lose both and it'll be okay, and that's exactly what we've done. Yes, it would have been amazing to get 2 draws, and potentially, be above Chelsea. Of course, we all want that. But that's football, and it sucks. But the fact that we have always competed, against the top six, we've lost every game 2-1, apart from Liverpool, we drew 2-2, and arguably, we should have drawn against City and United. So it's all optimism, and especially as you say, George, given the fact that we didn't have Mitro or Harrison Reed. For me, Bobby at right back is a very suitable replacement for Tete, so I don't see that as a problem. Having said that, for me, there was a bit of a question mark with the winner yesterday, where I thought maybe Bobby Reed should have been first to that ball and wasn't quite alert to the danger. Don't know what your thoughts are on that, George.
I thought it was tired legs in the dying stages against a very lively and dynamic Garnacho. I think that, yes, arguably defensive positioning, Bobby Reed could have got goal side of him and, been more aware, as you said, of that run coming through. It just seemed that he managed to turn that extra notch of pace up that a player with fresh legs can only really do against your tired opposition number. I think that I do get your point, but I think perhaps maybe it was just a bit of touch of class. It happens, and I too like Bobby Reed at right back. I remember Sammy once saying that I would be surprised if he ends up doing a stint in goal at some point. He's so versatile. But yeah,
well.
I got Adorito back saying I thought Bobby should have come off from Babu and added time. He looked spent and was on a yellow card. I mean, I guess that's a stronger argument there, that maybe if you see your players flagging, it's time to take him off.
It was a very silly yellow, wasn't it, as well? Paulinha was going to win that ball. Bobby's taken him down. It's not a yellow card, but he's done it because it stopped the counter-attack. But Paulinha was always going to get that ball. So it was an unnecessary booking from the ref. And it's just that little thing that takes the edge off your defenders, because they can't quite get in as hard like that. And, again, that was a small decision that didn't go our way, which affects the game.
Yeah, absolutely. My rules is back, saying I'm in two minds about yesterday. Last 5 minutes, I'm happy we ain't trying to settle for the draw, but then should we have? I mean, there was this point in the dying embers that I thought, we could actually go on and nick this. And in my opinion, you always want to see your team, if you feel like you're in with a sniff, going for the win. And it doesn't matter who the opposition were. We were taking the game to United, and I feel like for large spells of it, we were the better team. So if we were really on the back foot, getting under the cosh, and then you understand a bit of game management, maybe going for the draw. But I personally feel like I was happy with the way that we played out. And I mean, yeah, gutted not to have got the point, but I would rather, I don't know, it's the question of, would you rather concede a last minute goal going for 3, or would you just put one in the bank? I think if you're looking in the grand scheme of our season, perhaps maybe trying to go for the point would be the better argument if survival is our only option. But it depends whether you're a glass half full or glass half empty kind of outlook. But I'm not like, obviously I'm gutted, but I'm not angry at the fact that we seem to be going for it.
No, definitely not. And the interesting thing is that I think Silva's got it the wrong way around. I think we should have had a go at City when they had 10 men for a certain chunk of the game before Haaland and Foden came on. And then yesterday, the first half, we probably should have been 2-0 down. That Eriksen missed along the ground should have just been tapped in, game over. And they looked really dangerous on the counter-attack. We all thought 2 of the chances were offside, and they weren't. And Leno actually pulled off a mental save, and we all kind of underreacted because we were so busy going, that's offside. And actually probably wasn't. So, we had to go for in the second half. And as a result of dominating so much and attacking, we nullified United's attack. So it was the right game plan. However, there is that game management. When I came away yesterday, I was like, okay, well, just before the 90 minutes, should that have been let's bring on Shane Duffy and throw an extra man at the back and just keep that ball out? Because he brought on Onoma to try and keep hold of that ball. And I think that's probably where that change should be made, especially when he's got youngsters that have come on. But this is all the magic of hindsight, isn't it? You live and you learn. and both games are just very unlucky, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just a shame going into, the last game before the World Cup break. It would have been so nice to have been celebrating a few points there, but, you live and learn. On that note, we're going into the World Cup. So Jim says, assuming everyone comes back fit, do we need to do business in the January window? CDM cover, another striker, right back? I mean, there were questions on our strength of depth going into the sort of early stages of this season. I think everyone was agreed that our starting lineup was very, very strong, but a few key injuries, Micho out, Paulinha, Harrison Reed, and we're in trouble. I think that the players that have been called upon, especially in these last two games, have really, really proven themselves and maybe kind of silenced a few critics and made people realize, okay, our strength of depth isn't as bad as we first envisioned. However, a bit more depth can never be a bad thing. Stephen, is there any areas that you think we could do with a bit of reinforcement?
Yeah, the one there's for me, if we make one signing in January, I'll be happy. And I think the clear weakness is that central midfield position more defensively. So, Harrison Reed gets 5 yellows, Payne gets 5 yellows, they take an injury. That's when we've got a problem. And Tom Kearney did a fantastic job yesterday. No question about it, other than the first goal. But for me, he's not that tenacious, defensive-minded midfielder who's just going to nip at everyone and play really dirty. He's a little bit delicate, bless him. So when you're missing a Paulinha or a Reed, you can kind of feel it a little bit.
Yeah.
And Paulinha had to really step up yesterday to get in United's faces. Again, just so amazing. Oh,
he did the job of two CDMs, basically, didn't he?
Literally,
he covered every blade of grass. It's just a monster. Like the analysis that Jermaine Genius did yesterday on Match Today, he took screenshots in the position where the ball was in a 50-50 he had against I can't remember who it was, Martial, I think. And the ball was so much closer to Martial in that 50-50. You just see the determination of Paulinha. It's like
that plays on the back of United.
Mind there and then he said, if I'm Martial, I'm jumping out of the way of this as well. There's no way I'm like standing up to this. He just crunches in. Obviously, takes a lot of yellows for it, but it's just that intimidation factor. And now that the league is starting to know what he's about, it kind of goes against us in terms of keeping him, but it goes for us in terms of, okay, right, we need to make sure that we're set up against this player, because he's just immense. It really is.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. Like, he won't go in January, obviously.
No,
he's going to have an amazing season with us, and if he does go, as long as we get the just rewards financially, like what we're talking, 70 million plus, like wouldn't accept any. That sounds mental, but like, if we're going to let him go, I believe he's on a really long contract. It's going to have to be for those kind of figures where it will help the sustainability of the club, and we'll all be heartbroken, but we can go, well, at least we got the finances for it and actually made a huge profit, and it's a huge success. Whereas obviously we've had a lot of bad history with great players leaving for, no money, like, youngsters in particular. It's all good stuff. It's all positive. But yeah, central defensive midfield. I think the right back's okay. And I still have a lot of question marks over Vinicius. His best game in the Fulham shirt yesterday, but it's not saying a lot.
Yeah. We got, apparently my rule says we've been linked with 22 million for Kessie in January. Ivory Coast midfielder. That would be a fairly interesting signing. We'll see whether that comes into fruition. But yeah, I mean, overall, we look at the bottom half of the table. So we're 9 points clear of Wolves. I mean, it's still quite condensed at the back, but I think we're establishing ourselves in the top half, which I think come the start of the season we would have all bitten your hand off to get a look. I could look at that table all day. I don't know about you, Stephen.
The same, yeah, George, and we've got Palace, Southampton. Who've got after that? I can't remember, but it's a good run of fixtures now, with Chelsea being the only top 6 side to play, and they're really struggling at the moment, so it's a good time to play them. So nothing but optimism now. If we can beat Palace, they're the only ones below us who can try and leapfrog us. So like, if we can hold them off or even get a win on Boxing Day, then that'd be the ultimate Christmas present, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. We got Palace, Southampton, Leicester, away at Newcastle, home to Tottenham, and then away to Chelsea, and then home to Nottingham Forest. So apart from obviously the
doable.
Yeah, there's 3 in Newcastle, Tottenham, Chelsea, 3 quite tricky games on the bounce, but if we can get some solid points in the 3 leading up to that, then I think it'll be a lovely Christmas present for all Fulham fans. Thank you very much, Stephen, for joining me for this quick take. I hope that you guys have enjoyed. Thanks for everyone who's got involved in the comments over the World Cup. Do not commiserate. We're going to be doing lots of special content. We're going to be covering a few of the matches, and then also I'm working on a George Best documentary for those who would be interested in listening to that. So do keep your eyes and ears peeled for Fulhamish stuff over the World Cup. But yeah, this is going to be it for Quick Take until Boxing Day or the 27th. So we'll see you again then. But yeah, take it easy, guys.
Awesome. Is that George Best documentary all about you?
Yeah, it's the Best George documentary. Sorry,
George.
I got those two mixed up. But yeah.
Nice one. Yeah, good to be back, George. Thank you. And yeah, keep your eyes peeled, everyone, because we're going to have loads of really good content. It may be quiet for all things Fulham, but we're going to be louder than ever before. So stay tuned.
In a bit.